And you're off.
Hi, I'm Stuart Fraser. I'm the Chief Executive of Communicade, and I'll be telling you a little bit more about what we do in a minute.
Hello, I'm Kathy Wellings. I'm the Culture and Communication Manager here at Communicade.
Hi, I'm Cora Malinak, the Culture and Communication Advisor at Communicade.
Hello, I'm Fragiskos Filipeos, and I'm an adjunct faculty here in Hull, London, teaching global management.
Okay, let me just say a few words about Communicade first. We are a culture and communication skills consultancy. We have offices in London and Brussels and Cheltenham, in Paris, and we have representative offices in New York and in Frankfurt as well. And we deliver to our services to clients worldwide. We have around 60 full-time employees and around 800 trainers on our payroll. And we work in three core product areas, or four core product areas. The first is in cultural awareness training. The second is in communication skills training. The third is in training in a very wide range of languages. And finally, we also do a lot of work on testing in languages. Now, the subject of today's discussion is around cross-border investments in the broadest sense. We actually started thinking about this issue a while ago in the context of cross-border mergers and acquisitions, but many of the subjects that we're going to be touching on today relate in the broadest sense to investments of all natures. And what we're going to be discussing today is information and insights that we have gained around the importance of culture in cross-border investments of all sorts. And we have gained this experience both from academic work that Frang does and also from work with our global clients, which includes a very wide range of companies, household names, ranging from Sony, Rolls-Royce, BP, Barclays and many others. But before we get into some of the detail of this, let's just have a quick discussion around what culture really means in business and how culture impacts on business. Guys, let's have a little chat about that. And don't forget to speak loud.
Of course. Well, I guess in its broadest sense, culture is really, as I'm sure everyone knows, about the attitudes, values and behaviours of different groups, whether that's organisational or national. But then if you bring it specifically down to business, I think we can look at things around what a good leader or a good manager is, how that's perceived and expected across cultures, how they make decisions, how they manage their teams, the expectations of their employees, whether it's how they incentivise them, how they motivate them, and then I guess on the team level as well, there's other issues to consider.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think one thing about culture is that it is hugely complex, and you're looking at different layers of culture as well. So in terms of how it can impact business, it can impact business through the national cultures which are involved, as well as the organisational cultures which are involved. So it's the company and how they decide to manage that organisation and what processes they would like to implement, and the people that they have and the structures that they put in place can be influenced both by national culture as well as the organisational culture and the history.
Yes, it is immensely complex actually, and there is this tendency to try and stereotype cultures and then to neglect both the fact that they are stereotypes and also the fact that we're not just talking about national cultures, but for example, when two companies merge, you're talking about the merger of national cultures and corporate cultures, and these are both very strong and distinct elements in their own right.
I would say that national culture does have a huge influence on the organisational
absolutely,
culture.
Absolutely. But I mean, what kind of things go wrong? I mean, what do you see, Frank, from your academic?
Well, one of the things that companies do tend to forget, and we tend to forget as well, is that these organizations operate in multiple environments, for example. So what Stuart said before about stereotypes there is creating high complications, because you stereotype 4 different cultures, you operate according to your stereotype, you don't actually see intercultural differences, intercultural changes, you never take into consideration whether those 2 cultures could cooperate and communicate. So it's not just the levels of cultures that create complexity. It's the fact that companies that go out there, and I imagine a lot of your clients won't just operate on a single location, they will operate in multiple locations, and therefore the cultures that they will have to deal with might be completely different.
Yes.
We're doing a lot of work at the moment with virtual teams, and some of the frustrations and the kind of irritations are kind of quite huge when expectations are so different, you know, in terms of how you contribute to meetings, how you meet your deadlines, and we see so much time wasted because the team just isn't working effectively.
I mean, certainly, I think we see at the anecdotal level all kinds of things going wrong. I mean, we have people just not being able to collaborate effectively because there are different understandings about what punctuality means at the most basic level. And so there are interpersonal issues, but then there are also more systemic things that go on. So for example, we had a client, a major British confectionery manufacturer, setting up operations in Eastern Europe, and they kind of wanted to basically export their employee remuneration and performance incentive program from the UK to the Eastern European market. And they actually were wasting a whole lot of money because the performance incentive scheme was not aligned to what the cultural sensitivities and how people actually are motivated in that particular society. So a lot of money gets wasted in misdirected or misunderstandings. But obviously in the mergers and acquisition space, and I'm sure all the Hult students will know that, that mergers and acquisitions have a high tendency to destroy shareholder value at the best of times, and that the typical destruction of shareholder value occurs in the failure to realise the post-merger benefits and synergies which were identified prior to consummating the deal. That's when it all goes wrong. And we know that on average around 60% of M&A, I don't know whether this is the numbers that I had many years ago, is it still around 60%?
Yes.
Yeah, around 60% of deals fail to add shareholder value even in a domestic context, and when you take it cross-border, it's kind of like even worse, isn't it? It's 80% or so. And we would say that cultural factors, you know, the difference between doing it in England or doing it within your own domestic market and doing it cross-border, the cultural factors are probably the key difference which aggravates or makes the outcomes even worse. Would you agree with that, Frank?
Yes, completely, and I think I have an example in mind. A couple of years ago, there's this famous merger between P&O Ferries and Dubai Ports, and you know, there were counter bidding offers with higher money. They thought that they had everything planned till they reached the stage where they had to find out who's going to have control over their US ports. And obviously there, the US authorities felt that they were kind of threatened.
Yeah, and the deal fell apart, didn't it?
Yes, yeah. And then there was an intervention, basically, by the US administration to sell that part of the business to someone else in order for the whole merger to go forward.
Yeah.